It's hot. So damn hot.
Really, really fucking hot. Have you guys all seen that video that medieval person put out about how to dress for hot weather in LARP? I think it's Ren Fairs. I'll link it here. It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, it's probably don't wear wool and black clothes that are semi-synthetic material. It's probably not great.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
I packed myself a liter of water for this, so I could be like, well, you know, I'll be well hydrated, but one sip in has taken me down to the 600 milliliter mark, so.
I have a Connemara Irish pub mug, courtesy of Jim's house.
Courtesy of the 2016 UEFA European Cup, I believe.
Great, and I've got 250 milliliters left. So let's get going. This is Fake Swords.
Real feelings. This is Fake Swords, real hot.
Real hot. Real hot. Oh, our energy is low because we've been baking in the sun for the past hour as we've been setting up this shot and moving the table a lot. Great, thanks. Is that for me?
No.
Oh, is this? You can only drink from this now. We've come under a lot of controversy and flack recently. Some unkind words have been said to us, said about us, involving our alleged unwillingness to do a part 2 of any sort of recap video ever. And we're here to put these rumors and allegations to bed.
With a part 1.5 for the next event.
Welcome to our E3 recap video with a small
featuring
E2 part 2. So fuck yous, everyone can shut up, get off our cases, all right? We're busy boys, and this is something that we try to do when we can, and we just couldn't do it. But we're doing it now.
We're doing it.
Now. E2 is not even relevant anymore.
No.
The last we left off, I believe, and I should have watched our video beforehand because I don't really remember anything that happened.
It doesn't matter. Let's just talk about the 2 great things that happened. Talk about the whispers.
All right. Well, I think we should still go in chronological order. I think we should have some sort of semblance of like organization in this.
I can only remember 2 things that happened, and you weren't there for one of them.
Okay, well, we had the dry partition skirmish, which we didn't mention in the last video.
Oh shit! I can remember 3 things that happened.
Yeah. What's the third thing?
The Sharknado.
Yeah. So I wasn't there for it. They're the only 3 things I've wrote down in my notes. There might be more. Let's face it, you probably don't care, but we're going to tell you real quick anyway. Dry partition skirmishes. Dry partitions are historically incredibly nasty, and I believe most of the skirmishes that have gone against them have been a resounding, people died.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. Not us though. We got invited by the Rod and Shield, the Emerald Lance as a whole got invited by the Rod and Shield to go and be the specialist task forces to take on the dry partitions. And we took them on big style.
Big style, boys. Those dry partitions didn't know what was fucking cooking. I'll tell you what was cooking, boys. Those dry partitions.
Yeah, not us. We were the moist boys, and we came in and fucked shit up.
We came in there, energized and well hydrated.
Yeah.
And we fucked them up wet style.
Wet style. Actually, we had to go in there and we had to make Gideon get all wet style first, so we had to fucking...
Yeah, Gideon was getting a bit dry, boys. So we went in there and we spread the drizzle.
But basically, it was actually a real cool skirmish. There was like this guy who, in his hubris, had decided, I'm going to go and I have all the magical means to take on the dry partitions. And I think in the wind, it was like, rather unsurprisingly, he is in need of assistance now. So it was up to us to run in, basically rescue him, keep him safe. He was under the effects of almost under the effects of the curse, and basically just had to sit there and drink water for a full 15 minutes while we just fought.
So basically, he was just there. Here's what he was doing, right? Dylan, you mimic what we were doing?
Okay, yeah.
No, that's supporting the glorious portrait. Use this half a dagger.
No, hang on. We can use this to do something.
Oh, sorry.
Who owns this sword?
Who owns this sword? It came home in our bag. We did not put it in our bag. It's a beautiful sword.
No, to be fair, I possibly put it in the bag because I just grabbed all of our what I thought was all of our weapons and threw them in.
Look at this magnificently appointed grip.
It is a very nice sword.
Bloodlines. Look at the magnificence. Look at the...
Anyway, it's not ours. If this is yours, let us know. We'll be bringing it to E4, so just come get it from us.
Yeah.
You're probably in our camp. We've asked in our Discord and stuff, but no one responded. So
I'm going to pop it up in Dawn,
please
Facebook as well.
Just, if this is yours.
There's a chance it came back with us from the Night Protector tournament at E4, is where I'm thinking it might have manifested
also very
itself.
possible. Yeah. Anyway, so we're there fighting. The big dry patrician, Big Daddy Patrician came over and he's like, oh, I'm a big dry boy. I'm going to make you all mass weakness. And I was like, fuck no, I've played World of Warcraft before. I can recognize a casting animation when I see one. And so he's giving it all this. I fucking scattered to the left within like fucking 4 big side steps. Avoid the mass weakness. Start. Pa, 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 pa. We're all fighting down. The dry patricians are getting back up in this. They're giving like this sort of special water. Well, fucking Gideon in the back here is just like, I'm a bit thirsty. Oh, I'm a bit thirsty. Oh, I got to drink for 15 minutes because I'm a bit thirsty. And we're all like, getting weakness to fuck. Which, like, I understand now why, if it had been like Rod and Shield and magicians and stuff going against the dramaticians and there's mass weaknesses and weaknesses being thrown all over the place, yeah, that would be real dangerous. Thankfully, because we had so many heavy armored people with shields and things like that, if we got weakness, we're still quite survivable, and whatever the dry patricians versions of husks, we're going down rather easily. Apart from this, the big dry daddy was like, just kept getting up, and it was only Gideon who could like deal with him. But again, aforementioned Gideon just taking his sweet time, just drinking. And like, we didn't know it for a while, so it was getting like real kind of hairy because we were like fighting all these guys and they kept getting back up, and we were like, what's the one guy doing? And then finally we knock him down, and then Gideon comes around and he's doing all his ritual shite, and obviously he's taken the full 2 minutes to do it, and we're like, oh my god, please just end this. But yeah,
he did.
Gideon
came and he turned them to dust.
Yeah, and then we
there was a great moment in the middle of it where, I don't know who it was because it happened in a flash, but there was like 4 or 5 of them kept getting back up, and this person just kind of like comes out of nowhere, leaps in, does some like kind of crazy battle ritual, just turns about 8 of them to dust, and she was like, these are gone, they no longer exist. And you're like, great, let's go fight the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. At the beginning they were definitely trying to lure us into the woods, but we said, nah boys, not today.
Yeah, it was real cool because like, and our guys were so like eager to go rush into them, and it's like, no, these guys are mindless, they're attracted by the water. We just stand out here, let them drip feed into us.
Drip feed.
Hit them when they're dead, like hit them when they're like, you know, when it's like 4 of us on one of them, to keep the numbers game working in our favor. Yeah, it works really well. Really well led skirmish, well organized.
Yep.
And then we all got cursed afterwards.
Oh shit, we all got so cursed.
Which was so good. I loved it so much.
Let's do it very quickly. What was your curse?
My curse was that I basically wanted to drink everyone dry. And so there's a great part where me and Percival were in with the same curse, we're in the hospital, basically just be like, water, and like, you know, people would give something else, and we were just like, just causing absolute mayhem for all the hospital workers, like throwing water over ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Like, Percival like cut my hand, and I was like feeding it to him and stuff like that. We were just like just absolutely going to the absolute piss, taking the piss with it. Pendior, one of our group, was like saying like he was in the hospital for it. I was saying it was like when we came out, the vibe shift was like palpable, and everyone's like, oh my god, because we just like really went for it. Yeah, it was real cool.
Yeah.
And that started a big series in getting cursed.
It did.
Which we'll get onto soon.
Yeah, I'll tell you about my curse because Dylan didn't ask.
I was just waiting until I was finished.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. Sorry, let me just pull a...
I hate you.
What was his name again?
Gideon.
Gideon.
I've actually been uploading these onto Spotify, and we have actually had some people listening, maybe watching on Spotify, because you can do that now. So if you don't like YouTube for whatever reason, you want to watch on Spotify, you can watch this on Spotify, which is nice. But if for anyone who's just listening, Jim has just been pouring his water into a very, very, very small cup and drinking it very daintily, and it's really annoying.
My curse was that my arm felt kind of sore, So my roleplay prompt was just like, oh, you have a sore arm, and I didn't know what was inside it. So I went out and everyone was causing such a big scene with like throwing water around the place and being like, we're thirsty. And I was like, someone was like to me, what's wrong with you? And I was like, oh, my arm is just a little bit sore. Actually, it was Lady Anira who saw it, and she was like, absolutely fuck not, get over to these medics, please. And I was like, I honestly, there's people in more need of it. I'm fine. My arm is just a little bit sore. And then they got over, and it turned out that I was turning to ash from the inside and had very little time to fix it.
So good.
So I played it that I was like fully getting dehydrated and was just like, oh no, I think I want to go now. I'm fine. I'm just going to go, have a drink. And the poor medics who had to deal with me, or not medics, physics who had to deal with me, were like, shut the fuck up and sit down. And I just kept trying to get away because it was funny, to the point where Joey Lambert basically had his bow trained on me. He's like, I'm sorry, me lord, but please don't move. And then eventually they brought out this huge basin of water and just fully like submerged my arm in it, and that turned my insides back to insides. But
was that the actual cure for it?
Yeah, just to rehydrate me through the wound.
Arm bath? Like...
Well, I don't know. My wherewithal was not withal wear. But it was funny because then immediately afterwards, I was brought to be grilled by Morella of the Twisted Rose.
Yeah. The Archmage of Summer.
The Archmage of Summer, as basically like she was grilling me to see if I was a good candidate for her to be her champion for Night Protector of Summer. And it was funny because I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm a little distracted. Not 10 minutes ago, my insides were turning to dust. And she was like, oh, okay. But that was the genesis of another story that we'll talk about in the actual bit of this video. Next up, the
next thing I really remember is the Whisper through the back gate.
Yes.
So that dry petition skirmish was like very early on the Saturday. It was like maybe like 2:45, because I think in what we mentioned the last time was the whole countdown during the Night Protector of Spring tourney and stuff.
Yeah.
There was like 6 hours then between that and the Whisper through the back gate. Honestly, I don't know what happened. It could have been anything. Maybe would have been interesting listening to, but we didn't record it. So
the most interesting thing that happened is I made a further like 7 thrones or something.
Nice.
That event.
Yeah, I fully don't remember what happened because it's eclipsed by the Whispers through the Black Gate.
Yep, which was one of the greatest experiences we've had in Empire LARP.
It was incredibly cool. So basically, there was some player pot going on with House Cardio.
While you're talking about that, I'm going to check the camera.
Okay, we have 13 minutes until it's going to stop.
I know, but I'm just afraid.
Okay, so there was some player plot happening with House Cardion, and what had happened was that our now newly joined Yo into the house, Lambert, who is Joey, his old character Quentin, dead, killed,
fucking
murdered, stabbed.
Oh yeah,
stabbed, unalived, as the kids might say. I think he was shot with arrows or something. I don't know.
Shot with arrows.
Yeah,
he was
his own arrows.
His own arrows.
Pretty bad. And so the House Cardion kind of made their own player pot around this to do with the Montanians, and that is basically them that had.
How do you say that? Montanians.
I believe so. Yeah, it was like
Montanes.
I think it's either or. So it's like House Montaigne, Montanians.
Okay.
I believe. Don't hold me to that.
Bladewardians. Yes, yeah, it kind of tracks.
Yeah, kind of. And so they want to do Whisper through the Black Gate to talk to Quentin, see what had happened. Quentin, who had previously been given a test of ardor to
drink.
Meredith. There's a dog down here. You probably can't see it. That's why Jim is just pouring water into the ether. So yeah, basically, they're in true, very dramatic Dawnish fashion. We did Whisper through the Black Gate to 1, find out what happened to Quentin, and 2, to basically finish his test of ardor, which was super cool. But like, we'd never really been to a Whispers, right? I don't think so.
I'd been to one, but it was a different animal completely.
Yes.
Not half as interesting or cool.
Thanks, Jenny.
I give you my
Thanks,
water,
dog.
and this is how you repay me.
But basically what happened is, like, Joey sold it so well. And this is not going to be shade on anything else, but I just want to give the comparison. Obviously, in the Witching era, it's like when all the Whispers from the Black Gate happened, and there's a couple of people before us doing their Whispers, and the people they had whispered out were given like such like real over-the-top dramatics. Like, people were coming out in like as if they were like mid-battle and things like that.
I think the one before us, that literally was the case. They were pulled screaming as they died through the labyrinth. Like, so they were literally like dead and then in anvil for a Whispers kind of thing.
But it was like, it was so like big and dramatic and seeing, and not that Joey's and Quentin's wasn't big and dramatic, but it was such a different vibe.
It was the difference between like when a kingdom making decision happens in a court filled with people yelling, and when it happens between two kings sat across a table in a closed room. That equal levels of epic, but different tones completely.
100%. And like, so when, and Elijah, our friend Jack, who in Verushka led the Whispers with his coven,
did so
fucking good. So good. Like, I'm jumping all around the place here, but like, also then like improvised the test of ardor in the end, and how it was going to resolve, and it was just like.
So I feel like you've left out some crucial information in why there was a test of. Oh no, there we go. Oh no, this has just become a much slower process. So I don't. Maybe I was distracted by the dog. Did you talk about how it was like Lady Meredith and all that?
Not really, but like, please.
So basically,
I was going to mention Lady Meredith when it came to the test part.
Your
contextualize.
Your timeline on this is insane.
I'm all over the place.
Take over this particular story. So
I'm just too excited about how cool it was, and I'm trying to remember how cool it was.
Quentin was taken captive by the Montaignes.
Yes.
And House Carleone received a note basically saying, look, this will be my final correspondence to you. It basically said, like, cool. Look, I'm going to die. This will be my final correspondence to you. I want you to know what's happened, and all my love to Lady Meredith, who is his paramour, his darling, as my child would say. The Whispers of the Black Gate was essentially to see whether or not he had died, and to get confirmation on that.
Yes.
So basically, House Carleone were waiting in the wings, hoping that nothing came true. But then, not only did Quentin come true, but he quietly stumbled through, reaching around, wearing a fucking bloodied, like Illidan-style eye mask, and covered in his own broken arrows protruding from his body, screaming like, "Where am I? I can't see where I am." Not even screaming, but like panicked.
It was such panic. Like the emotion that Joey got out, in such a subdued way, was way more like captivating for me anyway, because of the contrast. It was so like, oh shit, this is
and then
this is
the reaction then
real.
Was from not only Joey but from Tash, who plays Meredith, to see this confirmation that Quentin is dead, and also how Quentin had died in such a like
brutal,
violent manner, played so well. So the whole thing was this just grim shock of like, oh my God, oh my virtues, look what's after happening to Quentin, and then grief from the point of Meredith. But then Elijah and Joey managed to pivot it into the test of ardor. So basically, they used the Whispers through the Black Gate, which I'm 80% sure like most of the Dawners Whispers end up being, as a completion of a test of ardor. And then it pivoted into this triumphant moment where Quentin had come back from the labyrinth to complete his test of ardor, and then they were married there and then on the spot. And there was like 200-300 people watching, and they were all cheering for this. And then it ended, and it was just left with Lady Meredith. All you could hear was Lady Meredith weeping, and it was like, Such
And
a
Tash
moment.
full committed, just like fully collapsing on the ground. Because like the whole thing is only the person casting whispers can actually see it. So it was when like Elijah was like narrating what he's seeing and things like that, that Tash just fully like sent it, went to the ground, was just weeping out loud. It was just, yeah, it was so dramatic. It was so well done.
So good.
And then, yeah, from Elijah's or from Jack and Joey's point of view of them like doing the whole test of ardor to be able to like, that he had to touch her heart or something like that. So that they had this rose that was called the Archer's Heart, and he made like Joey like hold on to it. It's like, okay, can you feel it? This is confirmation now that you've held the heart of the archer. And Meredith being a renowned archer, it was like, so you've held Meredith's heart. And you know, and then I think Gwen declared that was the passing of the test of ardor. Everyone fucking nuts for Love and Glory, and yeah, it was just so good. It was so like, yeah, big, bold, dramatic, and yeah, it was very Dawnish. It was just very cool. Yeah, and yeah, I loved it.
I'd like to toot my own horn a little bit too. Immediately before the Whispers, they discovered they'd left that rose back in our camp in the Emerald Alliance, and I, in full clank, absolutely bolted from the Reggio to the Emerald Lance camp and back in less than a minute 30. And the description of, because it was E2, it was extremely muddy and wet. The description of has come back to me of a Dawnish noble sprinting through the mud in full golden armor, resplendent, with a rose in their hand towards the Reggio, was described by members of the Brass Coast as the most Dawnish thing they have ever seen. And I think that's what put an awful lot of fuel in my tank to go for Night Protector. I was like, I like this vibe. I'm going to lean into it. So, and I got a rose from Carleone for doing it as well, which was nice. So yeah, a little bit of character motivation there.
It is a little character motivation.
This has taken far too long to do E3. So the Sunday battle was intense.
You have about 4 minutes before we need to...
I only need about 30 seconds because I'm going to just put a clip of Sharknado here. And that's basically a summary of the monstering in E3, which was incredible. I've never seen half the shit they put on the field before. And the whole field was filled with smoke, which was sick. Go on.
And because of said Sharknado, we have a new house member.
Also, yes, fuck. I don't want to say too much about it on the podcast because it's still kind of ongoing game. But I've given myself a weird bit of game in that I have created, when we monsters the Grendels, I have a character. And that character now has some plot with the Dragonfly cartel. But I play an orc called Drek Thane, who's been hired by the Salt Lords. Unhinged decision making. I put upon myself.
Dangerous decision making for the Dragonfly cartel.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's something I'm doing whenever we get to Monster is the Grendel, and I'm fucking loving it. But it hit a little too close to home, and Oisin died.
Oisin's character.
Now, I would say Drek Thane did not kill him, but he was in the fight that Oisin died in. So apologies for my contribution to that. But
but Jim, thank you for introducing a new member of Glade Warden into the game.
Yes, because Oisin is now a member of Glade Warden.
Welcome, Reginald!
Welcome, Reggie! This is how we get you.
So, if you too want to join Glade Warden, just fall upon one of our swords when we're monstering. Don't do that. We won't.
But I would like to say Drek Thane is very, very fun bit of game. And I mean, I don't know what PD's stance is on this kind of nonsense. I'm assuming it's not commonly done, but it is extremely fun. Yeah. Shall we reset the video?
Anyway, let's reset the video and let's get into E3. Right, let's talk about E3. The one that's actually relevant.
The one this video is about.
Although, yeah, this is definitely going to be a two-parter again. Because E2 took a little while to get to. And me and Jim, I think, have feelings to discuss.
Oh, yes. And I cannot contain them any longer.
Do you want to get straight into this?
I just jump into this?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I never do. I'm just putting this under here. Don't slap the table or anything, just to keep the sun off it. Here, I rarely do this, but allow me to speak seriously for a moment. Empire is a great game, but I have a grievance. Yeah. With what a lot of players seem to be doing.
It's not just you, Jim. I've heard
a lot of people talking about this.
I had a lot of separate experiences with this event too.
Yep.
That are completely in line with what you're about to say, which is
so Empire is a great game, but it's only great when everybody respects the rules, right? The battles and the combat specifically are extremely fun, and one of the major things that makes them fun is the risk involved with going through the gate. And what isn't cool is mitigating that risk of your own volition. Basically not taking your calls. And this is something that was rampant at this last event.
Yeah.
I heard so many, even my picture is raging. I heard so many people talking about it, and I myself, and I believe you, had multiple instances where calls weren't taken, both as fighting as Imperials and as monsters. Some more egregious than others. You know, there are times where, like, you might be in the middle of a push, and like you hit someone with a cleave, they don't hear it. That's fine. Just give a little like, your leg's gone. You know, that's fine. But if you take the field, you should take the field in the knowledge that your character might die.
Yep.
And if you come face to face with that situation, it's a role-playing game. You have to role-play it. You know, you can't be like, oh, I have more to do with this character. Then you shouldn't have taken him through the gate, my friend. And the most particularly egregious example I saw of it was monstering. And despite how I act, I don't really take that much joy in killing people's players, but also I respect people enough to play a monster and not, you know, go easy on people when I shouldn't, you know? And there was a particular point at the end of the battle where we were monstering as the Druge, where a mage came out well beyond their line while the Imperials were retreating, or leaving the field, I should say. But he turned his back. I put three full cleaves into his unarmored magical back. And the dude just walked beyond the line, back into his line, and did nothing. It was extremely loud. I yelled, you know, cleave, cleave, cleave. And he just elected to ignore those calls. And again, that's the most egregious instance of it, but it is by no means an isolated incident. Like, I would say a solid 40% of the calls I know connected on both sides. Now, I didn't do much on the Imperial side. That's a whole other story. But at least on the monstering side, 40% of the calls I connected with, just straight up were not taken by the Imperials. And I've heard reports that it was the same on the other battle as well.
So I'm going to chime in there as well. Fully agree. We ended up not really monstering together that much. We got split up quite early.
Very early. I think we touched base 2 or 3 times in the middle of it.
But I was using my brand new spear. And I was like, oh, great, I'm going to get to use this. And with the spear, I had Strike Down. And I was like, great, cool. I've never used Strike Down before. I'm really looking forward to using a new call and stuff like that. And look, I get as well that fully want to just make sure that we're not coming across as like bitter here. We get that it's loud. There's 100% been times where I've probably been, a call's been done against me and I haven't felt it.
Oh, 100%.
Or I haven't felt it or I haven't heard it. And like, I'll put my hands up, like that happens. And this is not it. But like, I went with my new spear into a line, strike down, strike down, strike down on 3 different people. I think only one of them took it. And another time, about 5 minutes before that, I went and struck down someone else and they just fully didn't take it. The ref had to call and explain it is. So like, I'm sorry, but if you learn the calls of what they do.
If you need to know what the calls do, here's a little video we put out that goes through most of them. I think we got all of them. It'll teach you what they do, how to give them, how to take them, what they mean, all that jazz.
But like, go refresh yourself on what they are. Because I understand that you want to go out and you want to experience a battle. And if it's your first time, or even if it's your second or third time, there is a lot of calls, and you know, you might just not be aware of them, but like, for the sake of everyone, like, learn them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, as Jim said at the start, it makes for a better playing experience. And
so many of the best experiences we've had on the battlefield, both sides,
is when things go to shit
and things go wrong. You know, that's the most fun. That's where
100%.
That's where the heroic stories of the save come out, or the tragic stories of the Imperial who gave their life, or you know, the monster who died begging, like, bring this to my wife. You know, like, if you're not taking your calls, those stories don't happen. And also, the battle isn't as fun because the inherent risk isn't there, and that's what makes them fun. You know.
Yeah.
It's been one of our major selling points that we've always said about Empire is like, it's dangerous to take your character out onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
I've lost characters to calls, you know? My first character got hit with a strike down and died because of it, you know? And I just think if you're not willing to take those calls, don't go out on the field, and certainly don't go into the front line, because you should, if you're going to go through the Sentinel Gate into a major conjunction or a skirmish, be willing to roleplay your character death, because that is a very real possibility there. And maybe like a generous read on it is that the player was, and again, this is in a single instance, the player was overwhelmed, not knowing what to do in that situation, and went back through the line. My advice to you in that situation is, you know, you felt that dread in your stomach as you feel a call and you're beyond the line. If you don't know what to do and you've taken a call, go down. That's I've done it. Like when Finton took the field the first time, I was very new to Empire. I took a cleave in my armored leg. Didn't know what the rules were specifically, but I figured the most fair thing to do was go down, you know? And fucking incredible story came out of that. But I certainly wouldn't have felt good had I just elected to ignore it.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, that's us. But like, I heard so many stories from it, and it really is robbing the game of a lot of its fun. So please, PSA over, take your fucking calls. And you know what? Chime in if you agree in the comments.
Actually, I'm going to just point out, I do want to extend my apologies to a monster on the Sunday battle, because obviously we were monstering on the Saturday, so there was a lot of this kind of like talk around, you know, obviously from between us two, but from others of our group and things. Just so many reports of people not taking their calls, and it was very, very early on in the Sunday battle, and I hit someone with a paralyze, and they look again, hands there. I'm 99.99% sure I hit them, because I hit their blade, but got around it and hit them in the arm and called paralyzed with my magic new fancy sword, which is great, by the way. So cool. I love my sword. But this person kind of got, I did that. I think I called paralyzed maybe twice on them. And to be fair, maybe the first one they blocked and I didn't, but the second one, I was like, this is definitely it. They didn't take it. I was like, in my head, I was like, right, maybe they're new, maybe they don't know the thing. So I just said, because this happened when I was monstering, again, where the ref had to call like, oh, when start down, you have to go to your back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, right, look, I was like, hit your paralyze, you have to freeze for 10 seconds. And they got a bit thick with me, and then I got a bit thick with them. Because it was all in my head of like, what's going on? Like, people aren't doing it. So sort of like a ref came up to me afterwards. He's like, hey, just take, like, don't expend your resource, whatever, just do it again. So like, apologies to you if you're that monster and you're watching. But yeah, that's the context as to why I just got kind of like thick about it. It wasn't anything personal on you, but yeah.
Anyway, PSA over. Right.
Let's talk about E3 properly.
Let's talk about E3. Yeah.
Friday, we got there. There was a lot of politicking going on. Jim, do you want to talk about because like,
yeah,
the real kind of linchpin of all of E3 was around your like protector stuff, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So E3 was like, a lot of my prep for E3 happened in the downtime after E2.
Yeah.
Once I decided, look, I'm committing to this Night Protector vibe, you know, Archmage Morella seems to be kind of moving towards being on board. I was like, I got to drum up some support. So I spent a long time doing IC mail to so many people.
Why do you write like you're running out of time? Write day and night like you're running out of time.
Just so many people. I have a list on my phone. I'll pull it up when we get to the end of the tournament bit. But thank you to everyone who, one, interacted with those letters, and two, actually came out to fight and stuff in the end, you know? But like, holy shit, I timed in, and I think I had a period of like 5 minutes where I was waiting for someone, I think it was Callie, to come to the camp. And once that resolved, basically Callie showed up and said, look, you have the support of X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, holy shit, that's great, thank you so much. And then Lady and Era went off, and I hit the ground running, because I had sent IC letters to a lot of the Dawnish houses. I wasn't cold calling people. I was only messaging people that I'd had IC connections with beforehand. And I hit the ground running and just started politicking and telling people what I was up to, what I would do with the position, why it was important to me, X, Y, Z, who I am, what I stand for, what Caspian stood for. And Jesus, people were receptive to it. I don't think there was a group I approached that I wasn't able to convince. Now, some people came more begrudgingly than others, but for the most part, I think like there was a lot of like legitimately genuine support for Caspian. That was really cool for me as a player, to see so many people were willing to rally behind him, because he didn't have much to offer or whatever, you know. It was literally just like, please put your faith in me kind of thing, you know, which was nice. And then we got to notably House Tour de Saunders, and we have always been very firm allies with the Saunders, but like when we got to them, they were so helpful, and not only in just like, oh, here's some weapons you can use, which they did, you know, here's our nobles who will fight for you, which thank you again, but being like, let us help, like all but fucking campaign for you, you know. And Lupo just went out of his way to be like, talk to this person, I'll talk to this person, you talk to this person, come here and talk to this person, this is my friend Caspian, he's going for this, XYZ, which is great to see Lupo on the field again. I hadn't seen him in a few events. Always a pleasure. I mean, everybody in House de Saunders is just so sound.
You're all nice people.
And it just went from there. It grew legs. We got like, again, the unhinged force that is House to Frost.
I got to talk about House to Frost.
You can talk about House to Frost. Yeah. We had like quite a lot of the smaller houses in Dawn come into us. Got to roleplay a lot with some of the houses that I don't usually get to. Again, I'll list all these guys at the end. Yeah, like Vespa and Tall Stag and stuff. Really fun role play there. And that was basically all of what Caspian did on the field on Friday, was just marching around Dawn trying to get as much support for this tournament as possible. And even come the end of the Friday, I think we had like 70 people pledged to fight.
Yeah, it was
which was insane,
significant,
crazy. But that is basically all I did on the field. So yeah, thank you to everybody who put up with me and my campaigning. But we had some skirmishes on the Friday as well.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about what I got up to on the Friday evening, because obviously, as Earl, is like, I'm going to help. I'm going to be there to support Cass in whatever way I can, but Cass didn't really need a whole lot of support. I went and talked to a few people that, like, I was like, right, I've got a couple of contacts here that I'll reach out to, but like, once that was done, it was done. I didn't really have a whole lot to do on it.
Yeah.
And even with that, some of that was basically just like, oh, hey, yeah, go talk to Caspian, you know, because they wanted to talk to the candidate themselves, you know. But yeah, basically, as part of the House of Sandra's is campaigning with us, they introduced us to House to Frost, which we've been tangentially aware, and anyone who in Dawn is probably aware of House to Frost, because they're very loud.
I have it on good authority. They're actually everywhere.
I no, see, that's actually a misconception, because first they're here,
yes,
then they're there,
and then the realization comes that they're every fucking where.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got introduced properly to Dufrost. Got to interact and roleplay a bit with Gaston Dufrost, the former Earl, who's an absolute
maniac
is the only way to describe him, who pledged to you purely so he could be your squire.
So he's like, if you get it, I'm your squire. And I was like, done.
But yeah, I got also thank you again to Earl Lupo for buying me a collectible Dufrost cider.
Oh yes, very cool.
Which is very fun. A big shout out to Percival for drinking said collectible cider. You fucker. But yeah, brought them into our shame pit in the Emerald Alliance camp.
And they just fucking went mad fighting.
Well, they were
all such capable fighters,
all such actual capable fighters, and like obviously I didn't know much about Dufrost like swordsmanship capabilities, and so I was like sparring against Gaston, and like
it was very funny from an outside point of view.
I'd say so, because like Tyg has become rather arrogant, because basically everyone who's come to challenge him now, I've beaten fairly handily.
Tyg has, I've noted, started doing the same thing that extremely capable swords person did to Tyg.
Oh, yeah.
So a couple of events ago, this absolute hero showed up in our camp and dueled Tyg to a standstill while holding a mug and drinking from it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed Tyg has honored that memory in every duel he's taken.
If you're watching this, come and fight me again, because that was great and I miss your character.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I want to pass that experience on to people, and I think it was at E2 as well. Someone from Wintermark came over.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll fight you. But I literally just sat down to take a drink, so I was like, you know, a perfect opportunity. I'm gonna do that. Beat this guy in a sparring match. So I was like, right, I'm gonna do the same thing with Gaston here, kind of do that. And then Gaston was real good at sword fighting, and I was like, oh.
It was like you went into your guard and the first volley happened, and I think Gaston landed like 3 or 4 hits on you in rapid succession, and I could just see you like, oh.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to try now. Fuck. And like I'm like a big guy, and generally the taller, broader, and longer reach than most of the people I end up fighting in Empire. And one of my biggest strengths as a sword fighter is my control of my reach and my distance. So I was not expecting someone who also clearly felt that way to do the same things to me, and I was like, fuck, I I just got thrown so much, and yeah, I think if we fight again, I'll have a much better kind of like feel for it. But man, yeah, he fairly wiped the floor at me, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, this is intense.
The picture is turning its head in shade.
So yeah, fair play to Defrost for handing it to me in that. Oh, bye, Cartoon Jim. But yeah, anyway, got to talk to them, got to drink at the Glory Hole, and stuff. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of interactions with them. They were good guys. They're so good. But yeah, and then I had a meeting then with the Order of the Fell Tree, who is our order about the Deadwood Knight.
The DWK, as it were.
Yeah, or the Schlachter of Ross, the SOR. And yeah, we had a
SOR, that SOP.
It was a very good meeting. I know we've kind of this pod has been going on, I think, a lot longer than anyone expected it to in the group. Maybe even from BD's eyes, I don't know. But it's been really, really fun roleplay. It's brought in so many other people. Shout out to like this, obviously huge shout out to Leonard Gildarin, the commander of that order. On a personal level, you're doing fucking great. I've loved every interaction and stuff with you. It's just been so good. It's just been really, really cool, and you're doing a really good job. And then like to the members of like the scrying pool and the other and stuff like that who've been going out of their way to do all these rituals and stuff for us. Not for us, on behalf of the order, I should say. And it's been super cool. And there was a really like textbook TV drama moment that happened where literally we had like just a lot of the meeting was kind of like just recapping all of our old knowledge, making kind of plan of us to go in because we hadn't gotten any real firm update in the winds, you know? And we were just wrapping up the meeting, and then Sigismund, who is from Verushka, literally running over, and he's like, we have more information. And it was such like oh my god, this is so dramatic moment.
It was a real like end of an episode.
That was exactly what it was. And it's like, we know his name, we know where the sword is, and we're all like, fuck. So yeah, Peter of Kulwich, we're coming for you. I can't believe PD. I can't believe you named this Deadwood Knight Peter. It's
Peter of Kulwich.
It's just so anticlimactic in the best way possible.
I love it.
Just the fact that it's like, no, he's just a dude named Pete, which is so funny.
It's such a marcher name too, isn't it? Peter of Kulwich.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really, really cool seeing that kind of plot progress, and then I might just kind of touch on this, kind of the rest of that plot to kind of just cover that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then there was a ritual that sadly I wasn't able to get to. I was just over the whole weekend, I was so tired. Just the Friday morning, early morning travel just wiped me for whatever reason. Yeah. And
like a plane at fucking 4 a.m. was not fun.
Yeah. So I remember, it was like coming back after monstering, and I hadn't eaten, so I needed to eat, but there was a skirmish that had kind of last minute been identified, that the members of the scrying pool had all received these visions, and they all went in and had basically a meeting with a Herald of the Whisper Gallery, which is so cool. And they all had to like share secrets in order to get a secret from the Herald, which has led to all of them being criminals because they essentially bargained or traded with an eternal under enmity. I think maybe they are.
I think so, yeah.
So that was super cool. I'm sad I missed out on that, but at the same time I was just like, I wasn't in a position like OC to go on it. But the people who did said it was like super cool, and I'm really happy that everyone had a really good time on it. It sounded sick. And I have been basically promised that when we get the sword, that it will go to Tyke's hands, so he gets the opportunity to put him down for good this time. Because if you haven't been following the story of the Deadwood Knight, basically we'll have more of it in the State of the Empire video, which should be coming soon.
Yes.
Basically, in order to kill him, fucking just straight up vampire rules, we have to stab him through the heart in his place of rest with his own sword, which is metal as fuck.
It's Forest Bowl Part 2 is what's coming. Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that's going to happen now soon next, either this event or maybe early next year. But I'm really looking forward to that. So again, huge shout out and thank you to everyone who's been part of that.
Yeah, that was sick. How long have we got left? 1 minute 49 seconds. I think I'll talk quickly about the Asavain skirmish then.
Oh yeah.
Because you weren't on that. It was very much we'll get to in the next video, but Lady Anira came true for us in a big way. A big, shiny, magical way, which we'll talk about later. And then she went on a skirmish and she needed bodies. So Torgoth and I were like, drop everything, go support them.
Yeah.
And we jumped on this skirmish. And you were busy, so you couldn't.
Yeah.
But
I only heard about it like as you guys were all going for it. I wasn't armored up or anything. I was like, fuck, I totally would have gone, but yeah.
But we went anyway. As like representation of Glade Warden on the Lance to be like, thank you. And we went through. We didn't know what it was. We knew just that we were fighting Asavains. We had no idea what to expect. We were told the numbers might be low. We were like, oh shit, this is probably not good. We got put to the back of the line. We were the last ones there and we're like, oh, we're probably going to get bounced. Didn't get bounced. Not a good sign. As we're tearing through the ether between the gate opening and closing, we were like, so what are we doing here? And someone I was talking to was like, oh, it's an ambush. There's an Asavain ambush. And I was like, oh shit. Or a Grendel and Asavain ambush. And I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. So we came out, we had our heads on a swivel, and we get a little bit into the woods and we see a column of Asavains who looked like, kind of like Greek hoplites without the spears.
And you're probably going to have to tell the rest of that in a second.
So, rudely interrupted by our timer. So basically we got through and we saw a column of Asavains with some Grendel as well, some beefy looking Grendel. Marching through the woods, and they kind of started shouting for a parley. So the leaders of our skirmish, who are God, the name escapes me, that Brass Coast group beginning with a C.
No idea. I know very little about the Brass Coast.
It'll come to me. I'll superimpose myself talking about it. They're great anyway, but it was one of them as our leader, I think. Again, so little information about this skirmish, but the Asavains walked up, and one thing I didn't expect was that they were all like bombastic French men, which was so good.
I got to roll an Asavain at some point. They suck and do my French accent.
Yeah, they came up and they were like, "Oh, hold on, we must parley, oui, oui." And I was like, "Oh, didn't expect that." And he's like, you let us, we simply want to walk through the territory. You will allow us to walk this way. No, we will not attack you. You will not attack us. And he was speaking very loud. And then, and I quote, someone in our line did some of the best cursing I've ever heard and said, you f***ing talking Asavain f***ing dirtbag f***ing cunts. So extra, so good. And then the leader of our skirmish looked at him and went, Cleave! Cleave, their leader, and the other one went screaming back into his line. And then we marched and we just went fucking through them. And it was a good bit of classic Glade Warden from Caspian. I just had Leaf, a greatsword, and like fighting the Asavains who were slow moving with like round shields and short swords. Like not a fucking one of them stood a chance, you know? And we just dominated them. Torgoth and I took about 4 or 5 of them to ourselves and ate them for dinner. To our left,
one of these things.
The Amberlance was destroying. I wish we have another one like this. Oh no, it's come back to me. The Amberlance was cleaning a house to the left. Shout out to Charlie, the champion of ambition, was on the skirmish, absolutely bodying people. To our right, I saw the it was on the tip of my tongue again. The Brass Coast, just like there was one of their leaders 1v1ing a Grendel champion and just putting them in the ground. Like there was nothing happening for the Asavains and the Grendel. There was a great bit where like I had one down, and he was on the ground like, "Hey, you imperial dog!" shouting at me in French. And I just look at him and go, "Ferme la goutte." Execute. And then like we had them all but 2 or 3 of them, I think, because people are taking time with the executions. And I was like, "Where's the ambush?" And a lady in Heron was walking by. I was like, "Oh no, we were the ambush." And I was like, "Oh, I was worried for nothing."
That's so funny.
But then they were like, "Oh, we need a Grendel alive. We need a Grendel alive." And only that somebody was taking their time with an execution. They were like, "Don't kill that one." But I believe that Grendel became pretty crucial then for like the conjunction on the Sunday, which is good.
Oh.
So good thing we didn't kill them. Lots of executing, lots of looting. Didn't find anything, which was sad considering they were Grendel and Asavean. They're meant to be loaded. But nobody found anything. I looted about 10 of them, didn't find anything. Sad.
I mean, they're also not going to have our currency as well, I guess. So.
Yeah, but you know, like resources and stuff, magic items, that kind of thing, you'd expect them to have something, but I'm sure there was a good reason why they didn't.
Yeah.
Caspian was just, you know, you can't just turn those emotions off. But I had to power through. Really upsetting. But yeah, look, let's leave it there for this one.
Yeah, and
sorry, OC, not upsetting at all, but for Caspian, who loves looting, very upsetting.
Yeah, we have still a lot of cool things to talk about from E3. Obviously, we have the big one, which is the Night Protector of Summer tourney, which is super cool. Talk about that cool sun skirmish that we were on the Friday night, which is also sick.
That was very cool. That was extremely cool.
That was great. And especially the outcome from the curses and roleplay effects afterwards.
Yeah.
Like top tier.
Very cool.
Got to talk about Dorian getting cursed from looking in a bag like an idiot.
Got to talk about Lady Anira's noblest of sacrifices.
Oh yeah, holy shit.
Holy fucking shit, like. But yeah.
I want to talk about Reggie joining Glade Ward and kind of how that's affected the dynamic and stuff, which is really, really cool. We met Silgor, which was great. The Panto.
The fucking Panto.
Yeah. The Agromant meeting.
Yep.
And then the battle. Fuck, is this going to be a part 3? Will we do a part 2 but not do a part 3 just to really fuck with people?
That'd be the way.
I think
that'd be on brand.
Yeah, I think that's what we do. And people can wait a year for part 3 of E3.
Yeah.
That makes sense because we didn't do part 2 of E2, so we're not going to do part 3 of E3.
And then part 4 of E4.
Yeah, perfect.
So give us content enough at E4 to fill 4 videos.
Yeah. So with that, see you never, maybe.
Yeah, bye. Denzel Washington.
Hello, if you enjoyed that episode, please follow us. Follow us on our socials. Do we have socials for this?
I have an Instagram account that has like 40 followers, so don't use it.
Yeah, it's gotten shared by big brands as well, which is really fun. Follow us on our Instagram. Join our Discord. It's the Hearthfire Tales Discord. And of course, if you enjoy watching us, and I don't know why you would, consider going and checking out Hearthfire Tales, our actual play D&D podcast that is maybe winning a crit award. They haven't announced it yet.
Yeah. We got nominated for one though.
We did. Great. We're a finalist. Yeah.
Yeah.
They will have probably announced it by the time you get out of this. So I'll just cut to either this face or this face. But yeah, do those things, and we look forward to you watching this specific bit again in the next video.